We're still stationed at UNISA's main campus here in Pretoria, watching day 2 of the National Convention well underway. We're just a stone throw away from the National Plenary, or in fact the main plenary I should say, where there's a feedback session taking place from different stakeholders, representatives, some of whom were part of the dialogue labs that convened yesterday. This is essentially the term to describe the breakaway sessions that took place here to unpack a whole host of issues to do with crime, gender-based violence, corruption, all of this with the hopes that what will come out is some kind of consensus that will be captured by the steering committee, which will be appointed today and help chart the way forward. We've been speaking to all manner of people here, those perhaps that are common, for lack of a better term, more recognizable, and those who aren't. We're sitting now with the spokesperson of the ANC, Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri, who is, of course, with us and has been watching these developments over the past couple of hours, days, weeks, months, who knows how long. Great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for popping by. What's your sense of how things are going so far and your real honest take of what's happened, both what was and wasn't expected?
I believe that what happened yesterday, as well as what is going on as we speak, suggests that this has been a strong start, a good and strong start. I believe that South Africans, they are represented by the many formations that are here at this national convention to launch the national dialogue, which is always what I think has to be stressed. I really do believe that a number of them have taken this to heart. The passion with which it's been taken to heart is evident inside the plenary. The amount of hands, the amount of conversations that are taking place is almost as if people are saying, let's dialogue now, you know, and I think that's indicative of support that South Africans are lending to this initiative.
I don't think anybody had ever expected a perfect process. I mean, there's never really any perfect way of getting people around a room. But I wonder if you do reckon there is credence to people who are suggesting that not enough people are in the room, you know, not enough consensus can be garnered from the people represented here. Is that a fair criticism, do you think?
Well, you know, I think it's partially fair in this sense. Many of the organizations and the people that are in the room are representing a wide range of civil society, of public sector, of the private sector, the youth community, women's organizations of different tones and shades. I really think that from here it's a good launch pad to then grow representation of different sectors, because there is going to be a sectoral focus according to what was presented yesterday by the convention organizers. Let me give you an example. As the African National Congress, we are participating here as just but one of the actors in South Africa. And for the fact that the ANC is participating in that capacity, we are looking at who else is represented so that this process is really supported, because we are firmly behind the National Convention and we are firmly behind the National Dialogue conversation. So back to the question, I'm not certain that you could have the first start with 3 lecture room full spaces. It's not possible. I don't think it's possible for a start of such a critical and a sensitive process that South Africans are going to have to contend with for the upcoming year. I do believe that this is broadly representative, absolutely broadly representative, from church-based formations to the Muslim community, to the Jewish community, from students at universities who are here, SRCs who are here, all the way to teacher organizations and education bodies in our country, from Chapter 9 institutions all the way to NGOs and public benefit organizations. all the way to development agencies such as your Kagiso Trust, who are one of the sponsors of this process, bodies of that caliber that have journeyed with South Africa since the dawn of democracy. It doesn't get more representative than that. There is always room to grow this and to make sure that everyone feels a part and that there's a room for them to enter a room and be part of the process. And we hope that organizers will really heed that call to make sure that the process is as inclusive as possible. But by the indication of where we were yesterday in the morning until where we are now, the process is definitely inclusive if you look at the register of who is in the room.
All right. At the risk of sounding like I'm contradicting myself, I had an opportunity to speak to, I think he had mentioned that he's part of a business school, one of the representatives in the many dialogue labs, who actually suggested to us that perhaps it wasn't a good idea to actually have politicians there, given the fact that in many respects, the people who feel aggrieved typically direct their grievances towards the body politic of the country. And I wonder whether you reckon there's space for that, right? For discussions to take place without people who are, I suppose, at the helm of the problems that people feel need to be discussed in dialogues like these.
At the risk of...
I wonder if you could just lift your mic for me a bit more.
At the risk of sounding like a retort to the person you had an engagement with, I think it is very unfair for anyone to exclude political formations in a national discourse, because those who are in politics are also South Africans. They are also citizens. There may be an organized grouping that is in politics, but we are South Africans. We have a voice. We have a task of listening. Just to paraphrase President Ramaphosa in his what I would describe as a very sterling presentation yesterday, that really shook the room. Even those that were skeptical about the real intentions of this dialogue came out saying, now we understand. I don't think political organizations must be excluded. I think everyone must be included. I think political formations, and I will speak for the ANC, can't speak for others. The ANC is very well aware that we've got an obligation to work with everyone in this process. We have an obligation to ensure that we don't interfere with the process or be seen to be interfering. And there absolutely has been no evidence of any ANC interference. There was that narrative that was being peddled by right-wing groups in South Africa, including the Democratic Alliance. But there's absolutely been zero evidence to suggest that. If there were a case to be made about the ANC interference, I can assure you, this very vibrant and combat-ready people in that plenary, they would have boycotted the event or they would have chased us out. We are here, we're participating because we're part of South African society. We have an obligation, though, to participate with the required non-interference, humility, and to ensure that we spend time listening. There may be conversations into the future where, the ANC may say, no, we want to allow space for this particular aspect of the dialogue to continue without a direct submission from the African National Congress, where we say, let's give more time for people to speak without any hindrance. If there was to be such a thing, I'm certain that the ANC will easily do that, because we are committed. Our Congress conference mandated us to ensure that there's dialogue. The statement of intent that set up the government of national unity has a clause there that enjoins all signatories to the GNU to be part of convening the dialogue. The fact that the Democratic Alliance, for example, has withdrawn from the Democratic Alliance means they've once again transgressed a statement of intent that they are signatories to.
And that they've made similar accusations to the ANC, but that's not really why we're here. I suppose it'd be remiss of me not to ask you to just reflect for us, Mahlengi, on the optics. I mean, as you and I are speaking, we're also beaming visuals of what's taking place in Marikana. And I've heard multiple speakers asking the question about, including, in fact, people who are part of the eminent persons group, asking the question around whether this could have been better planned. It feels like the nation is competing for, or in fact is conflicted about which of these processes to be part of. We've got the National Conventions Day 2 taking place at the same time as this commemorative event in Marikana. And I think any South African who is invested in this democratic project would want to be fully present in both. With the benefit of hindsight, perhaps, if we be to be charitable, could we have managed that better, that conflict, at least insofar as optics are concerned?
Well, you know, the danger, though, of linearity is ever present because many of the people that are in the room there will not lift a finger on this particular day. Some of us have opined about Marikana. We continue to do so.
What do you mean they won't lift a finger? I just want to make sure I'm not misinterpreting
because
you.
There is a great deal, there is a sense that the work of rebuilding our country should continue. And of course, on a practical level, commemorations of Marikana commemorations are held in various spaces at a certain time. And I'm not sure that during that time there must not have been any national event. Is that what is being suggested? Because that will be the first time. We have had major national events taking place during a weekend where there is a commemorative activity about Marikana. So I'm not certain that that's not disingenuous. I do believe that all of those that are in that room have to keep that memory alive, have to ensure that the conversations we have, the social compact that must come out of this national dialogue is of such a nature that what happened in Marikana, what happened in Sharpeville, what happened elsewhere does not happen again.
To be fair though, Mahlengi, we all know that the Marikana commemorative event will happen on one particular day. The National Convention could have happened on any other day. It's not like they could have moved the Marikana commemoration. I don't think the observation was raised in a combative type of way. You know, it was, again, as people were reflecting, what do you do in a context where there are South Africans who want to watch what's taking place there and be part of this particular convention? And again, the question is about, maybe it might have been a question of oversight, right? This was overlooked, involuntarily so, or inadvertently so, I beg your pardon.
I'm not able to opine on whether it was overlooked or unintentionally or intentionally so. I just say that I really find that opinion quite lacking, honestly, on so many respects. The point I'm making is that since the Marikana activity happened, there have been a lot of national conversations around the date on which the commemorative day is. Nobody has ever raised anything about that. Lots of things, from graduations to everything, including major national and international events where South Africa is participating or is hosting. We can chapter back in history. So I don't really think that there's substance to that argument. That is a factual point that I am raising. In an ideal world, of course, you would pause on a day where some memories of this nature, you know, that are still gaping wounds to many in our country, to take a pause and look at whether is this the best time. But I do also think that we must be practical and be mindful of the fact that every single day, every single week, South Africa is hard at work representing itself in various platforms through our government and through other non-state actors. I just find that argument quite, I don't know, populist, actually, for lack of a better description. It is populist.
Loud and clear. Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri, appreciate the time. Thanks very much indeed for popping by. Mahlengi, of course, is the spokesperson of the ANC.